So we're going to review polynomial, just basic operations, notation, different things like that, just to make sure you understand what you're doing. So this page is a review of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. A lot of the stuff that you saw here, you've previously seen, so this should not be new for anybody. And I also want to make sure that you understand this is kind of the beginning of the polynomials unit that we're about to cover over the next couple weeks. You did see polynomial operations and functions last school year. So this isn't new yet again. So for polynomial basics, I want you to recall a couple of things. A term is the sum of your, or the degree of a term is the sum of your exponents for your variables. So whenever you're talking about a term, the degree for a specific term, that's just one piece, one monomial, it's just going to be the sum of your exponents. And it's only going to be the exponents that are on variables. The degree for a polynomial, so polynomial is one or more terms. This is when you have the highest exponent of all of the terms. So it's going to have the highest exponent value for any of the terms. So we're going to look at numbers 1 through 3. If I ask you again to find the degree, that's what we just defined, the degree. So for instance, for the very first question, there are 1, 2, 3 terms. This is a polynomial. In order to find the degree for each term, we're just going to add the exponents for each of the variables. So for this variable, it only has one exponent, which is 4. For this term, it only has one variable, and that exponent is 2. And then for the last variable here, the exponent is 1. Which of those numbers is the highest? 4. So as you're finding the degree for a polynomial, which is what that is, it's just the highest exponent value. So in this question, I'm just going to put 4 for my degree. And is 4 even or odd? Even. So I'm just going to put E for even. For example 2, it says we're just going to find the degree for your variables. Don't worry about the exponent. So for this question, you're not going to add that 5. You're just going to add the 3 and 7. So 7 plus 3 is going to give me 10. My degree is 10, which means that this is an even degree. Do the same thing for number 3. Figure out what the degree is and if it's even or odd. Megan, what's the degree for number 3? Say it again. Okay, it's even, but what's the degree? What's the number? 6. The highest number is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. We have 6 here. Really quick, for 5 right here, there's no variable. So what's the degree going to be? Nope. 1, we already said was that. That's not 1. 0. It's going to be 0. So if you see 5 with no exponent or no variable with an exponent, you're just going to say that degree would be 0. Okay, so that's reviewing degrees. We're going to need that when we go through more polynomials. For the rest of this page, I'm going to do the following questions, and I actually want you, if you can, to skip ahead and do the questions that you already know how to do, which should be all of them. I'm going to do questions 4, 6, 8, 11, and 13. So again, I'm doing questions 4, 6, 8, 11, and 13 on that next page. So I'm going to give you about a 3-minute head start. Well, probably won't be enough for you to finish all of those questions, but it should be enough for you to at least start them. So about 3 minutes. Look at the first couple questions. You should definitely be able to do these. My goal is just to post up the answers, really, so that way you can check them. about another 90 seconds. Don't rush. Work through the question, and afterwards I'll talk through it just in case anybody doesn't know what to do. And then you can, of course, check your answer as you keep working. All right, so I'm going to start looking at question number 4. If you're still working on something else and you think you got question 4 right, you're good. Keep working. For question 4, when you're adding and subtracting, the main thing you want to check to see is if there's anything that needs to be distributed. For example, in question number 5, if you do that question, you definitely need to distribute this negative to every single term that's in that parentheses. For this question, since you're adding, you don't need to distribute anything. So I'm just going to leave this as 3x squared plus 7x minus 5 plus 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. From here, I'm just going to combine my like terms. So I'm going to combine the x squareds, which will give me 5x squared. I'm going to combine the 7x with the 5, which will give me 2x. And then I will combine the constants, which are negative 5 and positive 2, which will give you negative 3. Remember, when you're combining like terms like we did here, the exponents you do not add or subtract. You leave them alone. Just before we move on, are there anything else that I can combine here? Is there anything else I can combine? No. So this will be my final answer. When do we change these exponents? When do we change the exponents? When we're doing what operation? Multiplication. Technically also division. So let's see when we look at question number 6, what it would look like to actually do multiplication for this and change your exponents. Please be careful here. There's like 2 variables and they each have different exponents that you're distributing, so be careful. First thing I'm going to do is distribute all of this to the first term. So you're going to multiply negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6. What do I do with the exponents? Add. So 2 plus 2 will give me 4 on A. B will be 5 plus 2, which will be 7. Distribute to the next term. So this will give me positive 10 because 5 times 2 is 10. A will be raised to what power? This one, even though it doesn't have an exponent, assume that it's a 1. So 1 plus 2 will give you 3. And then B will be raised to the 8th power. And then the last thing I'm going to distribute all the way over here is going to be negative 18. A to the 3rd power, B to the 5th. Am I done? What else can I do? I can combine all of them? I'm asking. I could try, but it asks me to simplify. Whenever it asks you to simplify, you don't have to factor anything. Well, I mean, you could, but it's not going to really change your answer. The only time you would really want to factor is if something would potentially cancel, but this one won't. Can I combine anything here? Say it again. That's what I was just about to ask. Can I combine these? Sienna, why are you shaking your head? What's wrong? And not just any B. Are these B's the same? No. So this is very similar. It's purposely why I gave this to you guys. Remember how on this page we only combined the x squareds and then we combined the x's separately? Same thing for the question we just looked at. For this one with the A's and B's, yes, I would love to just add all of these numbers and be done. But you're not. Whenever you have especially some variables that are the same, with these threes, that was the first thing I saw. If these b values are not the same, so b to the 8th or b to the 5th, if they're not the exact same, you can't combine them. If both of these were like b to the 5th power, then yes, you could absolutely combine them. But since they're not, leave it like this. This would be your answer. Questions or concerns? If you try to factor something out, cool, but it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. You're literally just left back with what you have here. Okay, for question number 8, I only picked this because it has 2 variables, so I want you to be careful with how you simplify. So 2 times 3 will give you 6x squared. 2 times 8 is negative 16xy. 5 times 3 is 15xy. And then 5 times 8 is negative 40y squared. In this question, can I combine both of these x's and y's? Yes, they both have the same the same exponent on x, and they also have the same exponent on y. So they're literally the same term. So I can combine both of these, which will give me 16x squared minus xy minus 40y squared. That's my answer. For question 11, you can definitely draw out, I know a lot of teachers, including myself, do the box method for this. They draw out like boxes to organize everything. You can do that, but I won't take off points if you choose not to. So for this question, I'm going to really just distribute. So 3 times 5 will give you 15x cubed. Be careful with the exponents here. That's the main place where I could see you guys making a mistake. 3 times 7 is positive 21x squared. Make sure that's squared. 3 times 4 is negative 12x. That's the first part. Next is going to be negative 25. That's supposed to be a 5. X squared. Negative 5 times the 7x, which will give you negative 35x. And then negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. Be careful with your signs. Be careful with your numbers. So from here, just like we did on the last question, I'm going to try to combine my like terms. So the x cubed, there's no other x cubed. So we're going to keep this as 15x to the 3rd power. I'm going to have x squared. I can combine those. 21 minus 5 is negative 4x squared. Negative 12 minus 35. What is that going to give me? 47x. And then for the last one, I have this 20, and there's no other value, so I'm just going to put positive 20. Can I add up all of these numbers? No, please don't add them. I know it's easy to do it, but it's also very wrong. This would be your answer. The only reason why I gave you guys the last question is to make sure you understand how to simplify correctly. So for question 13, this one asks you, it gives you A, B, and C, and it says subtract A from the product of B and C. Aaron, how do I subtract the A from the product of B and C? What's that going to be? How would I subtract it? Add B and C or multiply? Multiply. Multiply B and C and then subtract it. Good job. If you don't put that, you're going to mess up. That's mistake potential number 1. Here's mistake potential number 2. B is 5x plus 1 times C, which is 3x. You guys should be fine here. Minus A. A is 2x minus 3. I always tell you guys, when you plug in something, use parentheses. This is mistake number 2. If you didn't put parentheses around this 2x and 3, I'm betting money you forgot to distribute to that negative, which is probably what happened. So to simplify your answer, we're going to make this 15x squared plus 3x minus 2x plus 3. When you combine both of your terms in the middle, you're going to have 15x squared plus x plus 3. This should be your answer. So there's 2 major mistakes that you guys can make here. If you don't rewrite it correctly like Aaron helped us with, and if you don't put a parentheses around what you plug in. This is the whole point of me using parentheses. If you made a mistake on this, cool. I don't need to know about it, but I will know on your tests and quizzes. So if you do make a mistake, fix it now before your tests and quizzes. Are there any last questions from this before we move on? Obviously, all the other questions on this page, feel free to use as extra practice.